Joe, today we're going to talk about Michigan and Oregon. Michigan, I don't want to say – I know from a record, from a win-loss standpoint, I think maybe a down year for Michigan coming off the national title a year ago. But, man, the way that Michigan ended the season, we go a way too early conference projection of the Big Ten and Michigan. Brother, I'm a little bit high on Michigan. I think they can generate a lot of problems for a lot of people. This Bryce Underwood start, I think, is a big question that we'll talk about. But, man, Michigan played so well down the stretch, beating Ohio State, the national champion, coming up close to beating Indiana, and then wiping the floor with Alabama in the bowl game. Joe, just how good can Michigan be going into the 2025 season?
They're a wild card, and we know that their schedule is very playable for them to come out with a lot of success. I'm not saying they win a national championship, but for them to return to that 9-win, 10-win striking distance before Bryce Underwood is a sophomore and he's a junior, that's what I think needs to be the goal. I think that the one aspect of this that I'm paying attention to is, does their offensive line start to improve? Andrew Babaloa was a very highly touted recruit that they brought in, and I think that he should be a plug-and-play guy early on, and at the very least, maybe he plays a little bit later on, but I'd throw him into the mix. That is a crazy gifted, enormous human being that you should try to get acclimated in starting on your offensive line. The other part about this, Blake, they added some decent players in the portal. Justice Haynes and Damon Payne, you're getting some good bodies. Justice Haynes is going to be super productive in that offense running the football.
I agree.
The most important talking point is moving on from losing Colston Loveland, Mason Graham, Will Johnson, Kenneth Grant. What happens there? Are those guys so elite, and they were sporadically available throughout the season because of injuries? Are you going to be fine not having those upper tier elite athletes that went on to be first round picks with a little bit more of balanced position groups compared to that?
They look damn good against Bama.
Without any of those guys that I just mentioned.
Without any of the guys that you just mentioned. And look, people see that and think, well, Blake, Bama wasn't really that good this year. Where I agree with that, you're still dominating. They're still dominating five-star dudes. Caden Proctor was still put on skates.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Caden Proctors walking around in the Big Ten either. There's not a lot of them walking around anywhere on this earth. So I look at Michigan and how they ended the year. The question that I had that I never could fully make an understanding of where Michigan was as a team was, you don't have the quarterback play for me to know how talented you actually were. Because if we talk about the Texas game, I mean, what are we mentioning? I mean, Texas scored 31 points. Okay, that sounds good. Your offense could barely get past the 50-yard line. You go into the Indiana game, when you need a throw on third down, you can't complete it. You're going to a walk-on and Davis Warren. Okay, you're doing so many different things. And you can't complete a 9-yard pass for a first down to a Colston Loveland that's wide open. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. Down the stretch, you beat Alabama. You go into the horseshoe and, quite frankly, whip the national champion's ass. I don't want to hear that, the coaching style of Chip Kelly. No. They walked in there. Arguably, I'm thinking about their entrance to the game. Joe, you saw the video that was posted of the entrance into the game. I saw a whole new team. Now, off the field stuff that we talked about Michigan last time, I'm not even going to mention that until we have to, right? It's out of my mindset. Something was being built different there. I don't know if they're I look at them and say, you're right. Wild card, because, man, I'm going to get some toughness. I'm going to get physicality. And I never knew how good they were a year ago because of how bad they were. Now, let's say it is Mickey Keene. I said –
I think it's Mikey.
Okay, I said 27 different names. It doesn't matter.
Double check.
I don't know if you pay $3 million for Bryce Underwood for him not to play, but they're definitely going to get a look. And even with the young kid being a freshman, I still think that he gives you more production than what you had at quarterback a year ago, no matter what.
Right.
So, regardless of what you're doing there at quarterback, it's an upgrade. And Joe, I saw a team that physically went out there and dominated playoff contenders, playoff national champions. I think they're the ultimate wild card. Now, I will remind people, the NCAA coming down on the Connor Stallions thing and the college football playoff are two different things. Now you're talking about something really different when you're talking about the playoff. But, Joe, if we're sitting there talking about them being 9-3, there will be a game late in the season that they got to go in there and win. Maybe it's Ohio State again, okay, that they've owned for a while here, for them to get in there. And who knows what happens if a 9-3 team gets in there. I don't know. But my man, I'm telling you, I like where this direction's headed from on-field situations.
A couple, just to bring up their schedule really quick, by the way.
Yes.
Toughest games that they have are Ohio State at home. They get Washington at home. They travel to USC, and they travel to Oklahoma. So those are – the rest of the schedule is very survivable. I like how you bring up the way that they played against Alabama.
They can go to Oklahoma and win.
Oh, yes, 100%. The way that they played against Alabama, I think, is an indication that even without these crazy, corked up, just really athletic freaks that Jim Harbaugh originally recruited, and you know, there was the development there with everything with Minter. Even without them, they were able to punch Alabama in the face. And they're going to be able to do that to their entire schedule this upcoming year. I completely agree with you. I think you got to start Underwood. Keene is fine. He was fine at Fresno State. He is nothing special enough to think, oh, he's going to beat out Bryce Underwood. I think that Underwood steps on the field for summer practices.
And there's decision making.
But look what we just had with Alex Orji this past year, and all the different guys that they tried to slot in to play quarterback. The decision-making was horrible from everybody.
Yeah, but you were not comparing Bryce Underwood to the guys that were there last year. We're comparing him to the decision-making of Keene.
Okay. That's
right? I mean,
that's fair, but with Underwood, you're getting a premier athlete that gets the opportunity to learn. I look at what Nebraska got out of DeLeone Raiola and what Florida got out of DJ Lagway. Underwood has been on the same level of comparison in the grade that he's received from all of these outlets that grade quarterbacks on the same level as Dylan Raiola and DJ Lagway. I think that at the very least, right, I think he's better. I think he's better. But look at the impacts that both of those guys had when they stepped in and they started to perform down the line. I think the start to the season might be a little bit slow, but as soon as you get him into the mix and you start to figure out, like, okay, this is how we're going to run the offense around him, I think that they start to take off. I get him out there. You're paying him all this money. You attracted him to come. Get him excited. Get the fan base excited. If you only go 8-4, but Underwood has some crazy big highlights, that's a win. That's a perfect season in my eyes. I'm
going to tell you the God's honest truth.
Yeah.
I legitimately got to see him throw in person in Baton Rouge 2 summers ago, or last summer. Dude, I mean, Jaden throws on a line. I don't want to compare him to him. This dude can make all the throws, man. And then he's athletic as shit. Needs to put on some weight if they're going to ever run him. He's got to. I mean, all high school kids do. But kid can make every throw, man. I've seen him do it over and over and over again. You're right there. I mean, I never want to anoint a starting freshman until it happens.
Right.
I mean, it's just not the norm. But you're right. We did see some crazy stuff with J.J. McCarthy. I mean, we saw it this year. They split time, Orgy. I mean, they are not scared to throw people in there. So it's going to be a rotation, I think.